Om Shanti. Good morning and very warm greetings from autumnal Cambridge. Hope that the sound is fine and you're able to hear translation. Possibly translators just need to unmute if you're not already. So this subject, Jeevanmukti, or in English, liberation in life, or maybe the word freedom might resonate more. I just wanted to share, as always, the some reflections, some quotes, because it creates an interesting churning. This is Albert Einstein had a thought about liberation. He said, the true value of a human being can be found in the degree to which he has attained liberation from the self. So, of course, he hasn't got the vocabulary for dissecting out what is false and true, but I thought it's very interesting he had that kind of insight. And the second is Freud. He said the dream is the liberation of the spirit from the pressure of the external nature, a detachment of the soul from the fetters of matter. So what is freedom, Jeevanmukti, liberation in life? What is coming to your mind? So this retreat to refresh as always, meet each other, but also going to the depth of all these different aspects of Gyan. So very warm welcome and handing over to Om Shanti.
Hello and good morning. Very nice to meet again. And as always, let us create a few moments of silence. And our silence is a rich silence. In the first second, we use the best intellect. And when we are using the best intellect, we see the entire physical world for what it is. This is the first thing. If it is temporary, we are able to see it as temporary. And if it is temporary, we can't be taking support from this. If it is a fictional world, we are seeing it as fictional. It's a game of a second. All this allows us to go beyond that story. It is such a beautiful game. It was a game of the intellect. So we are able to step beyond. And beyond the story is silence. Beyond the story is the real world. We see this in the image of a sky. It is a privilege just to stay in this world of silence. Even for a short time, we are in this silence. That is, there are no images in this world. It is that kind of silence. No thoughts of the drama. This is the region beyond the physical. And this silence of this region helps the soul to become conscious. It is this environment that helps the soul to see itself. We use the word invisible player. The invisible player is conscious. He understands his existence, his immortality. It is normal for him to be like a tiny point. It is normal to belong to the sky. Normal to have that independence from the physical world. Normal not to need anything from the physical world. As we continue on our journey, we remember just this bigger map. We remember the perspective from the higher intellect. Thank you. Hello and welcome again. We will be having this great opportunity to discuss this subject of Jeevanmukti together. And as always, we start with some quick reset, reminders of some basics. I'll be using the board. Jivan is life, as we know. And mukti, really it means freedom. Mukti is to be free. Mukti is freedom, but poetically it can be called liberation. So liberation in life. Just the word mukti is used when someone wants to just be in the soul world. And then we use the word mukti for that. Jeevanmukti means you are having that freedom whilst you are in the physical world. So you are not aiming to be away from the physical world. You are in the physical world. So this is like a extra smart. Just to be free, anyone can maybe able to achieve that. But to have that highest freedom whilst in life, that is bigger challenge and bigger attainment. So even in bhakti, there is an understanding. Jeevanmukti is higher. And so wonderful to have this concept in bhakti. These concepts have been going on. So there are references where King Janak, mythological character Janak, he wanted to attain Jeevanmukti whilst being the king. So there are stories of kings who renounced the kingdom to attain spiritual enlightenment. But Janak wanted the highest spiritual attainment, which is Jeevanmukti, whilst being the king. And the story is that he is the one who achieves that. It is a mythological story. So it really says that you may be the king and still you can attain the highest. So how? And Baba absolutely promises that. Baba doesn't say mukti is the aim of the knowledge, but Jeevanmukti is the aim. Baba sees it as normal. It is not a sort of very, very high, rare thing. Baba sees it as that is the normal, that should be natural. Opposite of Jeevanmukti is what is the word for bondage? The word Baba uses is Jeevan Bandhan. We're getting into the different levels of bondages in this life. Has anyone experienced bondages? Do you know what? Anyone knows Jeevan Bandhan? Give an example of Jeevan Bandhan.
Someone wrote preferences.
Sure.
Family. Worries, waste thoughts. Not being able to live without someone or something. Attachment to suffering. Expectations, attachments, vices.
Yeah, sure. What is the first situation? What is it that gets us into the bondage? What would you say is a precondition for who traps us in the bondage?
Our desires, ego, body consciousness, expectations, maya, ownership, false identity, wanting more or something, body, attractions.
Yeah, good, very good. In other words, our situation is such. There is Ravan, and Ravan has got an amazing web, and prison. Ravan wants all the Sitas to be in prison, but Ravan's system, he doesn't put a lock. His door is open. There is a big prison, but the door is prison. He just keeps some chocolate cakes here and there and some music playing and someone praising. He keeps all these things, but everyone has an option to be free to go. And these angelic souls have freedom to get into the bondage themselves. And who will get into the bondage ever? Only the one who is confused. One who is sensible, he will never get into the bondage. Like even here, some animals, birds, there are always predators everywhere. There are spiders waiting, with their web. And there are animals which are clever. They know the danger beforehand, and they take caution beforehand. They don't get caught. Those who are not clever are the ones who get deceived and get into trouble. Those who are deceived, then you are in big trouble. Same here. If you are sensible, you don't get into the bondage, or you become free from the bondage quickly. If one is confused, he can be getting into bondage on top of bondage and doesn't even know. Bondage always brings suffering. So here, let us see our world now. And in our world, we are seeing our starting position. Invisible player. We are all thinking of the invisible player. He's the one who goes through this journey. Invisible player is the invisible soul. Invisible player is the invisible prince. And he is given this gift. He doesn't need anything, that's why it becomes a gift. His world is complete and eternal, and he has got his family and father. The world of perfection. His starting position is world of perfection. So this world is complete and self-contained. He doesn't need anything from anywhere. That's why this physical world is a gift. It is temporary. He knows it beforehand. It is changing in front of him, and it is unpredictable. He knows it all. But it is nice, just like you are watching some film. It's a gift. That is not a problem. So in this play, there are many things, glitter and gold and villains and dragons. Many things come and go. Cat comes, cat goes. Fox comes, fox goes. In one word, whole thing is a gift for you. Just as someone tells you, I want to show you some slides, some images. It's a gift. It is not. Is not showing you those images to give you sorrow. But as we saw various times, the weakness of the invisible player, few things that happen. First is confusion. Each aspect has its antidote. First is confusion. And in confusion, he doesn't realize the story as story. There is confusion. So he doesn't know where the border is, where the real world is, where the story begins. It can happen with children. If you are showing children something, they don't really realize that this is a story or this is a drama. They think that is all part of the real world. That's why they cry seeing the film or theater. One person, she says in a dream, just giving an example, another girl, she says next day she was angry with her mother, and mother asked her, "What's the matter? Why are you angry?" And she said, "You did this and this in the dream." So mother said, "But it's a dream." And the daughter says, "Yes, but you did it." And even when this girl is telling me, she is not a girl now, she's not a child, she's an adult. She says, "It is confusing," she says. And what really is happening, the border is not understood, where the border is, where the real world ends, where the dream begins, where the real world ends, where the story begins. That border becomes hazy. These are signs of confusion. The children are in that, little confusion, and the adults are in more clarity. But at another level, we can be in confusion. And when there is confusion, this clear, here we are showing the clear blue box. That is the story, and that is a clear real world. This gets mixed, and you don't know where the story begins, where the real world is, and that process of confusion, we show it by this dotted line. When you cross this dotted line, then you are in confusion. Then the ignorance begins. To go into the story, to watch a film, watch a theater, is not wrong. We don't see it as a sin. But to create confusion, then the problem begins. What is the first problem of confusion? You start creating bondages. You come into Jeevanmukti. We will see different bondages, but enough that we create bondages. Can you give an example what a bondage means? I'm watching a film, I create a bondage. What does this mean? When does the bondage begin? Give an example of a bondage. I create a bondage, not someone else is not tying me. I create a bondage. Give an example. I meet someone and I create a bondage. How does a bondage begin?
Becoming disturbed, identifying with the character in the film, I and mine, expecting politeness from somebody, or
good, very good. Yes, some of these examples. So then bondage begins. So there is a person, he comes and he says hello, and I say hello to him. He goes left, and I am here. Not a problem. There's no bondage. But the moment I create an expectation, he shouldn't turn left. He should go right, or he shouldn't say these words. He should do something different. Just I create a desire, as if I get into the bondage. I get tight, and then he's in a position to upset me. So these are different ways. We will see the range of bondages we create, but the invisible player First, he gets confused. Second, he creates bondages. But how many people tell you that they are in bondage? There are bondages. What does it mean? No one is telling that I'm in bondage. Bondage is a bad thing. Someone is put in a prison, tied. It's a bad thing. He will say, "Oh, free me from this prison." But no one is telling that they are in bondage. So what does it tell you? It means they are not even conscious. The invisible prince has become unconscious. Zombie. Someone is in prison but is unconscious. He will not complain. Only conscious prisoner will complain. Wants to be free. But no one appears to be unconscious. Everyone is busy. Everyone is running around, doing so many things. What does it tell you? What is happening? We said it unconscious. That is a serious thing. But no one appears to be unconscious. What happens is, in that unconscious state, when the invisible prince is unconscious, his enemy becomes conscious. And the enemy is the ego. Ego becomes conscious. And ego is ruling the mind. Ego is ruling the mind and life. It is almost like, say, enemy country, enemy, some terrorist takes over your town, country, and is ruling. He is not thinking of you. He just wants, what can he get from there? What can he rob and run? That is the aim of the enemy. So ego is the one. He is not thinking of the invisible player. Ego is ruling the mind, life, means everything. He is in charge of. He can use your time, you can use your eyes, you can use your wealth. Ego is in charge. There are some countries where the country was ruled by some military, government for 20 years. So let us giving one example. And they literally closed some schools and huge investment to military where they don't need even, some want more guns and more guns, this kind of investment. And afterwards government changed, but the country is 20 years backward since then, because 20 years were wasted. People were not even given proper education. It is like the government has influence. What is the problem? If ego rules, someone is ruling, okay, so what's wrong with ego ruling the mind and life? Why are you so much against ego? Many might say we need ego for our life. Why are you so much effort going on to remove ego and to do something about this? Why are you anti-ego?
Ego guarantees sorrow and pain. Some comments. And so it's in delusion and inherently confused. Creating attachment, we can get attached to suffering. And it blocks the original experience.
Yes, thank you. Very clear. What we are seeing here is Just like we use the word God, God is embodiment of the truth and embodiment of everything that is good, embodiment of and bliss and love and everything that is good, everything that is right, embodiment of wisdom. Inside out, he is in that space, God. Ego is opposite of this. Ravan is opposite. Ravan is embodiment of ignorance. He is a product of ignorance. You need to be properly ignorant, fully confused for Ravan and ego to take birth. Ego is based upon the story. So he is embodiment of bondage. He is a symbol of bondage. And if there is a bondage and if there is ignorance to such a level, disaster is guaranteed. You can't have a great future if starting position is ignorance and bondage. And what can happen as our life continues, ego just gets bigger and bigger. That's why problems become bigger. Sorrow is inevitable in the process. We said anyone who is in bondage, he is deceived. He is not going to have a great life. His happiness is also of deception. So we are seeing this in the journey of the soul. He goes into this direction where he comes into confusion, creates bondages, he himself becomes unconscious. Ego is ruling his life and ego is ruling his mind. This is where the spiritual knowledge comes, Baba comes, and he sees what is going on. It is like a diagnosis. This is what the diagnosis is. And what is the answer here? The invisible soul has to become conscious. Each of these situations are big situations: confusion, bondage, being unconscious, ego, all these. If your friend is confused, you will be very concerned. Someone is tied by the enemy, is in a bondage, in prison, it's a serious thing. Someone is unconscious, it's a serious thing. Enemy is ruling someone's life and someone's country, these are serious things. And so once we cross the line, as we go in the downward journey, downward spiral, these are the situations. And this is what needs to be addressed of the world and of the self. This is Baba's task, to address this. And where does it start? Baba's aim is to get the invisible prince conscious. All the antidotes. He brings wisdom, brings clarity, and let the soul become conscious. Until soul is conscious, ego really doesn't want to become free. Ego has a different agenda. He may say yes, yes, but he got a different agenda. He has his own needs and desires. So we first want to remove the enemy and make the invisible prince conscious. Invisible prince, he is the one who wants to be free from bondages. And is able to become free. Ego is not able to become free from bondages. As we said, ego is an embodiment of bondage. His When we say ego, all the identities, small I that we saw, they are based on the story. So they are not saying, I want to be free from bondage. That is not even possible. Sometimes, someone in an ego-based effort, yes, but it is not possible for the ego to really achieve anything. It goes in a circle. He can write books on it, and he can be a scholar about the subject, but ego cannot attain Jeevanmukti. You want to say anything? Add anything?
Few comments have come in. Just one earlier, addictions may make us go into Ravan's prison, and false hopes can also, and ego creates a false sense of belonging and is in constant madness. Ego takes control, but it fears what it hasn't experienced in the senses. So one question, how to become master over our mind if we thought from drama that it is okay for others to decide for us? Question
Yeah,
clear?
sure. As we say, first step for us is for the true self to become conscious. Otherwise, ego is the master of the mind at the moment, and these 10 heads of Ravana are competing to use the mind. And that is the chaos that we see. So who wants to become the master of the mind? And he has to become conscious first. That this is a twist. It is not one of the ego. We want that ego to be the master of the mind. Let the true self become conscious. Yeah, and we'll come to this. Any other comments?
Beginning, going back to the words, it was helpful to see mukti is freedom. Liberation is another word. So I was thinking freedom in the film. It just gave it more life than liberation in life. We hear these phrases, but it didn't necessarily touch. But the fact that it's a film and the soul is able to watch without identifying gave a deeper feeling. Question that's just come.
I just want to expand on this.
Mm.
This is nice, that example. So you are watching a film, and film, many things come and go, and you come out of the film. In the middle of the film, you are asked, come out quickly. You are able to come out. You are free to drop. You are not worrying about something. You are not getting into sorrow because of the film. That means you are Jeevanmukti. In the limited way, you are experiencing Jeevanmukti. There are some films, horror films, and there was a news some years ago on one horror film, and many men fainted. They had to call ambulances whenever they were showing this film. I don't want to tell you the name, in case you are interested in this. So there was this horror film, and they had to get ambulance ready outside the theater because men mainly were fainting. That is not Jeevanmukti. If you are watching a film and it affects you to such an extent that it it makes you faint, there is a bondage created in some form. And here we are watching a film. This whole, right now Prashant is talking, that is happening in the film. and the invisible player is watching this film. As we said, at the moment, it doesn't look like, because he is confused. Invisible player is confused. He doesn't see it as a film. He is in bondage. He is not even conscious. And ego is conscious. And ego is projecting on the things in the film, which means he thinks Prashant is I, and he thinks this is mine. It is so natural for ego to live in that film and think that this is mine, and this is you, and this is I. He is embodiment of ignorance, embodiment of bondage, embodiment of sorrow, ego. That's why it doesn't appear that we are watching a film and but it also gives an idea that we have to come out of this. We understand where we are, why we are feeling like this. That this is our real world. This what appears, what we said is a film. It appears like my real world, because it is a real world for the ego. When the soul becomes conscious, this will look like any other film. Within this film, there are horror plots, and there are jokers, and there are villains, and terrors. All plots are there. The invisible player need to remain free and not faint. Please continue, Sarah.
Very nice. So one question. If ego has taken over, is the intellect function of the soul? Sorry, if the ego has taken over, what or who is it that has the desire to be free?
Ultimately, the soul, as we said, soul is zombie, and that is that state, conscious, subconscious, he knows, remembers what he experienced at one time, and that is there. That is what wants to become free. And if it was zero ego, then everything would be very, very clear for him. But he has the desire to become free. He loses it. Ego takes over. Ego has other desires. That is the starting position. But desire for freedom is coming from the soul. Even though we use the word unconscious, zombie is the right word, which means there is some life, something is still there, who is some conscience is there.
So I hope that helps. Yeah, thank you. Why is ego still present even after receiving the knowledge of soul consciousness?
Yes. Baba often uses this word imbibe knowledge. So knowledge is heard, and thank you very much. It is nice knowledge, but life still continues in darkness, as if, because the spell of darkness is very, very strong, and it is all around. Everyone around you, they see it with the darkness. So knowledge is heard, but right now, for example, if you were to see that your real world is invisible, and that is where the true family is. That is all that matters. Real people are invisible brothers, souls, and that is where your world is. And everything that is seen at a gross level, it is all happening in the theater. If you are able to see like that naturally, even for 1 hour, worth trying, then it means you are embodiment of knowledge. Just hearing knowledge is not enough to remove ego. It is good, it is starting position, but we have to become embodiments of knowledge. Then only there is full light. And in that full light, ego will not survive. And if we said, if it is full light, then you will even naturally, you will see everything that is happening at a physical level. It is all a theater happening. You will have reactions of a theater. Someone suddenly does funny thing, someone pushes you, you see it is a joke. There are jokers will act like jokers, and villains will act like villains. And there are episodes, and episodes end, and Prashant suddenly dies, and everything disappears. That is the nature of the film. There will be no reason for surprise or disappointment. The invisible soul will be amused by this grand performance. Half an hour, just see if that is possible. Then you get a title, Embodiment of Knowledge. And in that full light, ego will dissolve. But we should experiment with this for 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. More you are doing this, ego will continue to dissolve.
Thank you. Just a few more questions. I don't know if you want them now or
Yeah, sure.
some of them may be short. There's 4 questions here. Is the invisible player not playing in the drama apart from being an observer of that film?
That's right. We use the word player and actor, but in the model of the film, when we are using the word film, we can only be the observers. It is apparent, it appears that we are acting, but the invisible player, who is the invisible prince, and he is truly the audience. He is observer of this film.
To reflect on, what do you do when others want to control you and hold you in the drama by creating the illusion of fear, or by creating fear?
Different, we all know, we all try to solve things in our different ways. Life is like this, life in different ways. But first thing for us is become free ourselves. You become free, let the soul become conscious. And if the soul is conscious, he understands. He's completely free. No one can control the soul. No one can harm the soul. You'd experience the total freedom internally. And then you act in the drama, whatever is appropriate. Drama has got a script. As we said, there are dragons in the drama, there are villains. there's beginning, end. You try to solve it from that freedom.
If we are attached to the role of Brahmin, does that mean we are attached to the story or in bondage?
Sure. The role of Brahmin is a very important step in the journey of the soul. And it's a student life. But by making the statement, you are a Brahmin, you stop the demon. You stop Ravan because you are putting the flag that this is world of Ram. And it's a protection against Shudra and the demon. Very necessary part and very necessary phase for the quick upliftment. But truth is, we are souls. So there is, we play the part of different kind. We take the steps, but we do not identify with anything. Then it becomes another trap. Just as we said various times, you might use a car, that is, you need the car, or you may use shoes. You need those shoes for your work or your life, but not create ego based on the shoes. Don't create ego based on the car. They are necessary, but only in a confused state. One who has crossed that dotted line, he will create ego. Use the letter I, create identity based on things of the story. It can be car, it can be shoes, it can be job, it can be religion, and so it can be the Brahmin role. Then we all come in the same category if we create that. We choose that life, Brahmin life, that is great, but we stay in the truth, we stay behind the line. And behind the line, we remain the souls, the invisible players. That is the eternal truth.
Like a clean start, a reset. But nice to have that understanding of the context of the Brahmin, to step out of the positioning of the feeding Ravan. Last question that's come here. Does ego exist in sinful souls only?
Sure. Putting in other words, in Baba's standards, and when Baba uses the word Punyatma, which means translation sometimes charitable souls, but it just means opposite of sinful. Those who do the highest karma. By Baba's standards, these souls, they are necessarily out of confusion, out of bondage. They are on the right side of the line. That Punyatma, that title doesn't go to someone who is confused, who has crossed a line. To create ego and all is a big, as we saw here, it is a serious confusion and serious mistake also. One has to go down that spiral for a while to create ego, to identify with based on the story. So by this standard, ego is definitely a big stain and sin. But the question what you asked, ego is a sin. Ego itself is a sin. To create ego is one thing, but once you create ego, ego is active. It is like a parasite. It wants more, more, more. So ego is a sinner. It becomes the source of more sin. And we saw in the past, the ego, it is just Ravan's department. There's different identities, different heads of Ravan. They all are active, constantly want more, 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 happy to get more, little more praise, and let me have a bigger hat, this kind of thing. All the ego get trapped in that story more and more, and so become the cause of increasing the account of sin. Let us come to our subject. We said there are these phases we have gone through in the journey. Soul has first starts with confusion, starts creating bondages, and then he doesn't even know that he is trapped and he is into bondage, and that is he's unconscious, and then his enemy is in ruling the life, and the enemy is, he doesn't say there is a bondage and he doesn't say there is anything wrong. He's busy with his parties, ego parties are going on. Now in such a world, Baba comes and Baba says, okay, let this invisible prince has to become conscious. How? The first thing that is required is light. The very reason all this confusion and all means there is darkness. And in the darkness, all these problems begin, darkness of ignorance. And the antidote is light. Darkness favors Ravan, favors the demon, favors ego. If you want to reduce that demon, you have to bring the light of truth, light of knowledge. The light of truth, light of knowledge favors the soul, favors the angel. So if it is darkness and ignorance, in that environment, not possible to experience soul consciousness. It will still be ego-based something. Ego is talking about soul or something like that. But for the soul to become conscious, we need light of truth, light of knowledge. Now, if you are going in this direction, light of truth and light of knowledge, then you might as well go for 100%. There is no reason you should go for 90%. We have the option to go for 100%. If you say, no, today let us try with 90%, tomorrow I do 100%, it is Maya. Maya will tell you, do gradually, do little by little. Baba says, no, in a game of 1 second, go for the best and highest now. And what will it mean to go for 100% now? As was implied a few times. This moment, if you are using paras, the word paras intellect, the moment we use that word, we give ourselves permission to see in a radically different way. We give ourselves permission to see the way God sees. And there is, as we said, we can see the way God sees now fully, 100%. And how does he see? He sees this in a natural way, that physical world is a big world performance that is going on. Story or the soap operas are stories. Harry Potter is story. Some world of dolls, it is another story. Cartoon is a story. These are all stories. It is good sometimes to take these images, extreme images, so that you don't mix your life with them. Baba sometimes uses these words, cartoon and world of dolls. These images Baba uses. Play with this, that physical world is a performance, but it is a performance. It is like a world of dolls, and sophisticated. Everything is sophisticated. It is temporary. Whole thing will be dismantled anytime. And that includes this present scene, and Prashant is within that temporary performance. But at the same time, the invisible player becomes conscious. Paras favors the soul, as we said. The invisible player becomes conscious. And he understands there is this alaukic reality behind this world of dolls. And he himself belongs to this alaukic reality fully. He is independent from the world of dolls. World of dolls, it is gross. It is like a cardboard world. Invisible player understands he is independent from the story world. He understands that that is not his world. World of dolls is not his world, which means that world can disappear, and that is not a problem. That world, suddenly there is some dragon comes, dragon goes, things come, something comes from the left, something comes from the right. It is nothing to do with him. It is not his world. In 1 second, he discovers his complete independence from it. Who is experiencing this? The invisible player. Invisible player is conscious, then he will feel it. The moment we use paras, it favors this process of invisible player becoming conscious. When we use paras, we understand here is the true family of the invisible brothers. It is true, that is the extra intoxication about this. Until then, we were so much in the story world, and in that confusion, it is false notion of the self, false notion of the family. It is life wasted and time wasted. We say, okay, copper age, iron age, body conscious, but it is like in full confusion. And it is not just time wasted, there are penalties that come because of this. In that confusion, we do mistakes. But now we are seeing this is the true notion of the self. Invisible player who is conscious, he understands who he is. And the true family and the true father and friend, as was said before, here is one who is embodiment of what is good, embodiment of truth, embodiment of love, embodiment inside out, clean. There is nothing mixed. embodiment of benevolence. That is what our true friend is. But everyone is like this if they were conscious. All souls are good, they are godlike. But Father, as was said, he is the one who is Parasnath. That's why Father, highest. All others, they are also like the Father, but they go into such confusion. So they are not Parasnath. They are not always Paras. They go into complete degradation and demonic. But right now, when the invisible prince is conscious, he's seeing this alokik reality in a natural way. This Paras intellect, it has the far-reaching intellect, it has the broad intellect, it has subtle intellect. It can see this dimension, subtle dimension. Stone intellect cannot see. Stone intellect is caught in that world of dolls. Cannot go beyond that. We all have Paras. Every second we are using it, it will just become stronger. That is our homework. Every minute we play with it, it becomes stronger. And stronger Paras just will find this more natural. Jeevanmukti in a second, in theory, yes, of course, we can experience Jeevanmukti in a second. But to maintain it and to be in that space, we need to build muscles. Paras has to become strong. Like anyone can run, but to run a marathon, you have to build the muscles. You need to do the training. So also here, Jeevanmukti in a second is possible. We use Paras and experience. But to maintain Paras for the whole day, it has to become stronger. So what do? We create 1 minute as a hobby. Repeatedly come back to this and experiment. You may lose it, then but come back. And every time you are doing it, it will just become easier. And these experiences will become deeper. It will not appear just, in the beginning, it may appear like knowledge or just a glimpses, something like this. You get feeling, okay? You get glimpse, your micro experiences, but they are precious. It is going in the right direction because you are following the Srimad, following the program, and practicing that. We are using the word invisible player, invisible prince. It is the same as soul, invisible soul. I feel invisible prince is more descriptive of this being, because he is the one who has got everything. Even the one who is prince in the drama, it is prince in the world of dolls. Even he has to discover the real prince behind, who belongs to the King of Kings. So you are seeing this enough wonder of the invisible prince. His life is extraordinary. No one can have a higher quality of life than the soul that is conscious. To begin with, there is no reason for desire. He is immortal without needing anything. No reason for disappointment, because he understands his whole world is beyond harm. Story cannot harm even the slightest. Opposite of ego. Ego is all the time the feeling he's a victim. One word from someone can hurt him. Whereas this invisible player, he is beyond harm. And once you know you are beyond harm, everything appears fun. Something goes left, appears fun, something disappears, fun, like childlike. That's why this physical world is truly a gift. It's a gift for the one who is out of confusion. Always the case, you give a gift to someone who is confused. He might, he might break it or he might throw it. He can do anything. But as one who is in clarity, he will appreciate it for what it is. Invisible prince, his life is no comparison. On one hand, his life is with God, worthy to be loved by God, worthy to belong to God, as if God remembers him. He remembers God, he lives with God. But he also knows everyone else is also from the same family. They all are divine royals. He knows this. They all may be conscious, not conscious, they are at different levels, but they all are divine royals. All are holy. There's a nice expression in a spiritual literature. All are holy, and holiness soon shall refashion their lives. And that applies to this family. So this experience, this feeling, will actually make it easy for others to experience Jeevanmukti. This is like a nice game. One bird flies, second bird flies, whole flock flies. You are creating these minutes, experiencing the Jeevanmukti of the invisible prince. As we are saying, it is not Harry experiencing Jeevanmukti. No, it is only the soul who can experience Jeevanmukti. For that, soul has to become conscious, and that's why the language invisible prince, who experiences this complete freedom from the story, maybe for seconds, maybe for minutes, but we say that is good start. But in the process, he makes it easy for others also, because he creates light in that dimension. And this light is the environment in which the souls are benefited. It favors the souls. I know it is possibly time for groups, rooms, but any comments, or Sarah, want to add anything?
Still reflecting on how this is the real world, the drama is the real world for the ego. So it helps to understand where we're at, for getting caught, and some emotions that are coming. It is when there is this mixing. And I like this invisible soul that is conscious, is the true notion of the self. And we can, it's like that self-respect is when we are feeling the mind without Ravan. There's a few questions that are coming up, but I don't know whether we want to take note and come back to them after the discussion.
Maybe we can take one question.
Okay. you just clarify the difference between Jeevanmukti in the Confluence Age and Jeevanmukti in the Golden Age?
Sure. At the present time, we are like a trainee. We are learning to fly, trainee pilots. We are experiencing it for a few minutes, and we are having so many strings, conscious sometimes, unconscious sometimes. So that will go on. We have to observe as we are making this effort. You will see the different strings holding you, and so you fly, and suddenly you said something is pulling you back to base camp 1. And so it helps you to understand what is going on, how to undo these knots. So that is the confluence aged Jeevanmukti. It's a process. But the final stage of Jeevanmukti, it will be the same as golden aged Jeevanmukti. It is like 100% you're free and zero confusion, zero bondages. No, you're conscious, always conscious, and no enemy. It's a different game altogether. Now we are dealing with all of these things.
Thank you, very helpful. So would you like to pose a question for reflection in the rooms?
This will be nice. Confluence aged Jeevanmukti. What are the obstacles and what are the solutions?
Okay. Solutions, yeah. Just putting that in the chat and something to start the discussion off. Just a reminder to give space for everyone to share if possible. And we'll meet back in just over 10 minutes. Enjoy. Thank you. Hello, warm welcome back. Hopefully you had enough time to share and hear from others. So just creating a short moment of reflection before we listen to some guests today. sorry, muted. Today we're meeting two guests. First, we will be going to Israel and meeting Sanjay. So it'd be lovely to hear what's alive for you and the subject of freedom and liberation in life.
Thank you and Om Shanti. Yes. It was shocking to me. I shared this in the room to reveal one day that I'm a slave, or actually I am a TV, a new brand TV that has many remote controls. And whatever someone is pushing a button, then I am, without any control, doing something, saying something, feeling something, totally slave. It is shocking. The good news is I learned to know that there is an exit from all of this. Because definitely I was looking for being independent, not influenced, control my life, have that peace, that love, that freedom, that security, that depends on nothing. And to live that Jeevanmukti, like Jeevanmukti life. Learning that even now that I know that exit after 25 years, still there are those traps and whatnot that Ravan and Maya keep putting there. As was said, they are looking for, they're creeping in, and we need that attention. We need to increase the attention, as was shared in the room. We need to give ourselves the time, that gift to doing this work, because it's a muscle, as was said, it's a muscle. We need to train this muscle. So many chances in this life, in this one's life, to, yes, to train the self. I was sharing that an hour ago before this meeting starts, I have a nice, very nice scene in the drama with my boys and wife. And looking back, I can easily tell myself, you failed. You said the wrong things, you were not in the right position, you didn't show love, you didn't see them as your eternal brothers, exactly like you. You played the role of a father, a husband, but with not much of that soul conscious. But you know, I can blame myself now and pity myself. 25 years and you failed right there. But as was said, I'm glad that Prashant said it. This is the confluence age, and it meant to be like this. You train the self, you learn some beautiful truths, and you want to experience it. So whatever comes is a training for that paras intellect to become stronger and stronger, and eventually, as was said, more and more, it will be easier, more and more. So thank you for the opportunity again. Om Shanti.
Thank you. it's always so nice, this honesty, and it's disarming for ego, this openness, and it helps us to see, doesn't it, these strings, and at least we know where the bondages are, so we work on it. But thank you for sharing. Very inspiring. We're also joined today by Brother Hervé, and he's connecting from Paris. We know he has medical background. So look forward to saying hello and hearing from you, your thoughts. Welcome.
Thank you. Could you hear me?
Yes, we can. Very well. Except you got muted just there, so let's see. Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Yes, what I mentioned during the sharing in small group is that it's very important to take the time for the self during the day, because otherwise you are in the amidst different situations, different relationships, and you don't see anymore this world as a game. And the main problem, if you lose this consciousness that is a game, if you have the tendency to react to some situation or to some people, and it's this reaction create some could create some sorrow, confusion, misunderstanding. So, as Brother Sanchez says, you have to train yourself and be take time for yourself regularly during the day, and go deeper in the self with introspection, and in order to touch the truth within yourself, to go to the core, and to, in this position of introspection, you could also see the weakness within you. The brother says that obstacles are within myself due to wrong understanding, to wrong habits, and to be honest with myself is the way to remove my weakness. So it's only possible if you spend time with oneself in order to be aware, to see the weakness, but also be kind with the self, noticing the defects, noticing the weakness, but be aware of all the goodness we have in yourself. Don't only focus on the weakness, but see the goodness, all the qualities, the specialities you have in yourself. And also, for me, it's important to be in staying in good companies that elevate us. And I think the power of the gathering is very important. And you mentioned my medical field, and what I learned is that in the body, the cells are connected to one another. They are not alone. In the organs, the cells are connected, and so they exchange some molecules and information in order for them to survive. And the proof of that is that when a soul left this anchor, this where she's staying alone, and the soul enters a degenerative process, which leads to the dying of the cell. So I think staying in company, in a powerful gathering, it's like we exchange good elevated vibration between ourselves. And it's for me, it's important that to pay attention also to the company we keep. Thank you.
Thank you. And it's interesting how Zoom has helped in a way, although we're not together, but there is a feeling of company in the rooms. it's almost like a community, so that helps. And I liked what you said, obstacles are in the self. That's quite good to notice when we think it's something in the drama or someone, so it's useful. So and also noticing, putting the intellect in the worthiness and the inherent goodness of the soul. We need to see the defects for sure, shine light there, but yeah, this was helpful too. So we have a few questions and a little bit of time, so we'll come back to Brother Prashant. Thank you both.
Yeah, sure. Let us go to the questions. And I just want to say, very nice to see Hervé, and thank you for your sharings. And very nice to hear from Sanjay also.
One question earlier. Can one reason with someone who is in ego? Should you just remain silent?
Ego in someone else. Is that a question?
Can you reason with someone who is in ego, or should you remain silent?
Silence is always the best, but it depends on the situation. Every situation is unique. If something is really relevant, then you may have to reason. You may have to be very strict also, ego or no ego. But if situation is irrelevant, then it really doesn't matter. Depends on the situation. But to deal with anyone else's ego, you have to be extra humble.
Is Jeevanmukti the experience of being with Paris intellect?
Yes, Paras intellect. Putting it in other words, Jeevanmukti is a natural state of everyone. Freedom is very natural. Bondages are product of confusion. Paras just removes the confusion. So it helps you become free straight away. Gives you the experience. It might become like a glimpse, but these are very precious glimpses, because it gives you like a mirror to see what is really possible for everyone.
Thank you. This question has come from the Italian group, and it may have gone through a translation. So I'm not sure if it's clear, but are we everywhere and localized? Also grappling with the idea of being on, how does the line work in connection to the film?
We are individual souls, and in that sense always localized in a way, but our attention can go everywhere, our love goes everywhere, we experience things from all around us, but we are very, very localized. Soul is at a very clear entity, individual entity. That line is a metaphorical line. It helps us understand ignorance. That is all. It is like a psychological line. When I have crossed the line, means I have gone into a confusion and ignorance, some darkness. To step behind the line just means you are in full clarity, adult perspective, not childish.
What is the role of paradox in the spiritual journey?
we refer to the word paradox when we see the right brain and left brain activities. For example, when you are playing a game, sport, and on one hand, you know this is a game and it is not really affecting your life, and you win or lose truly doesn't matter. Your life is independent of the game. But still you go and you play and you work hard and you play to win. So there is that paradox there. On one side, you are holding the space. It is not really an issue whether you win or lose. At the same time, you are playing to win. You accept defeat, but still you are playing to win. And this is like a positive paradox. It is not a contradiction. It is a natural paradox. And this is what we are doing here in this larger game. We want to hold that space where everyone is safe, everyone is good, and everything is okay, because we are invisible souls and divine royals. All are like this, worthy of love. And okay, and now we are in the game. And in the game, we play it and we try to solve the situations with our best judgment. But we play to win, but we also know how to fall. We know how to start again. So there is a paradox, which is a positive paradox.
Nice. It's always nice to be reminded of that dynamic. I hope that question, the answer helps. This is from the Chinese group. There was a comment in the room that it is not easy to go beyond being body conscious and to become self-conscious. Any thoughts from you on this, especially for those who are like beginners?
Yeah, sure. I understand. That's why what we mention, 1 minute program. We create 1 minute, but let that 1 minute be of quality. You are using full attention during that minute, and you are going for 100% light, 100% paras, and you are seeing it. We have understood the physical world as a story. We have understood it. Really see it as a story, and see the perspective from the soul fully. The big obstacle in the effort making, students, is ego-based effort that can deceive us. This is the biggest challenge we have to overcome. So you are still in the story and you think you are making effort, and the soul is not conscious. this effort, it is just a game for going on outside here in the center.
Sounds like a war, but it's a game.
It's a game going on. Yes. So here, invisible player is seeing with that lightness and freedom.
Thank you. Yeah, it's helpful. And any thoughts on that, feel free to share. So the last question that's come here is: the practice of experiencing Jeevanmukti the only form of training? It's from the Portuguese group.
Yeah, we have spoken of different practices. Baba gives cluster of practices. For example, churning knowledge, that itself is another training. Revising knowledge, remembering Baba in different relationships, experiencing home. We start with the wherever, whatever is easy for us. But all of them complement each other. One practice helps other practices. And Jeevanmukti is definitely our destination. Freedom is a main destination for us.
Yeah, thank you. So there aren't any other questions right now. I don't know if you want to have any final.
Let us create a few minutes of experience. Come back. We are coming back to the highest. And in this, we start with the paras. We check if paras is still in action. And there is magic. The moment we use paras, it is magic. Because in a second, you are seeing that complete freedom from the story. So many stories in the world, this is just another story. And we are seeing the world beyond the story. And beyond the story is silence. There is no noise of the story. The world of complete stillness. We see this world in the image of a sky. The home of the invisible brothers. They look like stars. All this environment, this alaukic environment, helps the true self to become conscious. Anyone wakes up, becomes conscious in a world. No one wakes up in a vacuum. So this environment helps the soul to become conscious. And when he is conscious, he understands his existence, his independence from the whole story. It is normal for him to be like a tiny point. I'm very happy to be that tiny point. And that he doesn't need to own anything from that story. At the same time, that every moment in the story appears like a gift. He's carefree because he got nothing to lose. And is beyond harm, naturally beyond harm. That point, that remains immortal. Beyond harm forever. As we continue on our journey, we remember the beautiful truth of everyone, that their natural state is of freedom, and it is their right to experience, to live in Jeevanmukti. Thank you.
Thank you. Very interesting, because Maya tells us a different story about natural state. So very, very helpful to keep these reminders. So the recording link is in the chat if you wish to review. We still have maybe a drill, but just a few minutes if you would like to stay. Thank you all, and homework to stay in that natural state of the soul. Om Shanti.
Happy Bab Dada. कौन सी ड्रिल कराने चाहते हैं? एक सेकंड में शांति की शक्ति स्वरूप बन जाओ। एकाग्र बुद्धि एकाग्र मन सारे दिन में एक सेकंड बीच बीच में निकाल अभ्यास करो। साइलेंस का संकल्प किया और स्वरूप हुआ। इसके लिए समय की आवश्यकता नहीं। एक सेकंड का अभ्यास करो। साइलेंट